like this pick in terms of value.
The Lions draft.
Running backs in the first round.
Basically, the least valuable.
I love how they're doing all this just to maybe go 500 next year. That's going to be awesome.
Shut your mouth, you son of a... Jared Goff is an absolute weapon. The defense is figuring it out. We have Dan Campbell.
Could possibly be the most entertaining season of Packer football would be if Jordan Love gets injured and then Taysom Hill has to be quarterback for the entire year.
Taysom Hill, he's still on the Saints.
No, he's at Green Bay now.
He's at Green Bay.
I did not get that breaking news.
There's a giant meme around the internet on how.
Oh, look, he's
so maybe he's
Saints
at the
training camp 23 hours
For
ago.
some reason, that Green Bay jersey thing went viral recently. That made me think he was moved. Now I'm confused.
You got a darn Schefter.
Mission failed. We'll get 'em next time.
Welcome to another episode, our third big show of What Are We Talking About with Jamie Jakes. I am him, and I am here with a cast of brilliant football minds, all coming from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And we are recording live here in Dallas, Texas, on Starks Avenue. It is a beautiful day to talk about football, and we have a lot to talk about.
You just dox yourself like that?
Yeah.
You just give away your street?
We're going to get FBI rated at some point.
You don't tell people where you're recording from?
No, I that's why I don't have a camera.
Honestly, I wish, best case scenario, we get stalkers for this show eventually.
Yeah.
Probably take 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, but if we had people outside with like signs and stuff, like College Game Day, that would be awesome.
Dude,
so
in that time span, those homes across the street are not going to be there.
Your property value is going to go up a lot, though.
Yeah, dude.
Oh yeah, that the people across the street, had a big old moving truck on their way out the other day, so that house is probably getting bulldozed pretty soon. But anyways, enough real estate talk. Let's talk football. We've had an absolutely awesome week in the group chat. I think what I want to start today out with is the Inside the Den series. And these series, I think James Brewer, our second non-comedian, also wearing a Lions jersey, sucking up to me.
Oh, yeah.
Mentioned in the group chat is Hard Knocks and these other NFL Films programs just have a lot of competition to deal with. And recently, I've noticed as someone who follows the Detroit Lions social media closely, the Detroit Lions social media has absolutely been crushing it lately, and this is no different. James, your thoughts on the landscape of media in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, if you can control the narrative, that's what these teams want.
Bingo.
I've worked previously in marketing departments for teams. I can tell you that it's become cheaper and cheaper to produce this level of content, and you got to control the narrative. So I think that is what's causing that death of Hard Knocks as we see it.
Is it cheaper in terms of like you don't have to pay these like millennial shit, or is it like that is? I know, I get what you're saying though, because to put on like a show like on HBO or something like Hard Knocks or something, that's a lot of fucking money, and like you can just release something like this on YouTube for your organization, all that. I mean, case in point, like going back to the social media thing, the Chargers social media, their game is on point.
I wish we were doing this podcast when they did the schedule reveal, last year and this year.
Yeah,
hilarious. We could do a 60-minute episode just on all of the small little details with like Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love in the darkness with Aaron Rodgers. Like absolutely just allegedly hilarious. But yeah, I'm actually, that's how I brainwashed myself in becoming a Browns fan a couple of years ago. So my favorite AFC team is the Browns. My favorite NFC team is obviously the Lions. And I moved down here and I'm like, hey, I want another team to cheer for because it's pretty miserable being Matt Patricia was still the head coach. Oh. It was just miserable, and we were kept on sticking with him. And I'm just like, I just need to take a step back from the Lions for now. I'm all the way back in now, but they had a Building the Browns series, which now they no longer do. You did some research and found out that they canned the previous media director.
I don't think they canned them. I think they went on to a better position, I would assume.
You think they're doing Shark Week now?
I think they're probably in the league office, I would assume, with the level of content that they're producing.
Boy, I
could
sure
look it up
so.
if I really wanted to. I just looked that they changed their person. I should have done more research.
Yeah, I hope so. I really miss it. They're not doing it this year. They tried to do it last year, but the comment sections were obviously rather toxic, and I feel like they just gave up on it. I don't know if the current director really knows that you can just turn off the comment section. It's a pretty valuable tool to use sometimes if you hire a potential dirtbag to a record-breaking contract to head your organization. But anyways,
sometimes
the Lions.
Sometimes inciting violence is the best way to get passion out of people. So, the dog pound is just...
Well, I think the reason he didn't come to Dallas was they got rid of that massage parlor next to Rodeo Goat.
Hey, I want to comment on that really quick too. Ever since even before quarterback, right? Before it was released, I felt this whole shift in the tide in Viking Twitter lore on opinions on Kirk, because who was it? It was somebody from the Saints that came out and was like, you can do the right things, and do everything right, but not get the most out of a play. Sometimes it makes, they went and said sometimes you don't have to do what you do in practice to be great. They said we call those people Kirk Cousins because they always try to say they're by the book. And then Viking Twitter lit him up, sending videos back of us just shitting on them in the playoffs the past 5 years.
I don't understand the hate for Kirk Cousins.
I
really don't get it. I think it's one of those things where it's it's cool to hate him.
Yeah.
One of those, which is weird because he's a fucking Vikings quarterback. He's not a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he's not terrible either.
Yeah. And so that's frustrating, but now I'm starting to see it, and it doesn't make, it makes sense to me because it's his last contract year. We need that pressure on him, but we can't deliver it to him the same way people notoriously say he crumbles under. So that whole media thing that you're saying, the Vikings do a great fucking job with their media too. It's crazy.
Everyone's stepping it up.
Yeah, they are. And they want you to download their apps and stuff. That's where they post it, or on YouTube, and it just makes it.
See, I tried to download the Cleveland Browns app, and it was an absolute disaster. There was a video playing over the top when you just open the app. And I tried to get to the podcast. Started the podcast. The video that was in the original opening part of the home screen of the app still playing in the background, louder than the podcast, and I can't even listen to my podcast anymore. But yeah, great take by Caleb B. Davis. Looking very good with the hair today.
Yeah. The cool thing about the Browns app is that they actually have massage parlors built in the nearest ones.
This is going to be a callback all episode.
Massage jokes. We've had our fair share. We've hit our quota for massage jokes.
Just make sure you click the only while using the app button for the location. You don't want to track anything outside.
That's where Anthony looks over and he's like, Jamie, you're looking kind of tense.
Splash.
We're watching the video of the opening scene
I don't know what the hell they were doing the first round.
inside the den.
The Lions reach
Everyone talking mad shit
positions.
about
The cinematography is fucking great.
beautiful.
I don't like this pick in terms of value.
The Lions draft.
Running backs in the first round. Basically, the
We do not take running
I love
backs
how
in the
they're doing all this just to maybe go 500 next year. That's gonna be awesome.
Shut your fucking mouth, you son of a bitch. Jared Goff is an absolute weapon. The defense is figuring it out. We have Dan Campbell, who has been able to turn this ragtag team of kneecap biters, patella biters, into an amazing organization with that man right there, Brad Holmes at the helm, with John Dorsey from the Cleveland Browns being the executive decision maker for all personnel decisions as far as players go. The Lions organization is on the way up, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what I think the prediction for the future will be for the Lions, because we're going to cover that reacting to the USA Today. But all that to say, just fuck you, Anthony.
Yeah, ditto. As a Lions fan,
I
ditto.
really wanted to get that reaction. That was fun.
500 my ass. Also 17 games now, idiot. Catch up.
True.
Fucking you.
As someone born and raised in Grand Rapids.
Anyways.
Look, dude, I'm a comedian, not a
So
mathematician.
speaking of being blood red mad, all these hacks at the beginning of this video talking shit about the Detroit Lions draft. So in this documentary, we find out that they were sitting at 6, and they were comfortable with taking Jahmyr Gibbs at 6. They were discussing in between each other, like, do we just take Gibbs now, or do we think we can trade back, but it's a big risk. That's how much they loved Gibbs. And he said he was on the at least top 7 on their big board. And if you check your notes, Bijan Robinson went 8. which means the Lions had Jahmyr Gibbs ranked above Bijan in their big board. And I don't think it's super duper crazy.
Initially, it's pretty weird, but in the long run, it probably could pay off.
I mean, Bijan did have to transfer out of Alabama to make room for Gibbs. So.
By the way, James Brewer, also our first insider. So we're trying to get him a little bit sauced up on one of these shows so he can give us some inside secrets. But he has deep ties to Alabama football. So just know that when he says things like that, it comes from a place of truth and honesty and insider knowledge.
Do you know who Jared Maiden is?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I went to high school with him. It's one of my buddies. Yeah, him and like Devin Duvernay and Divino Zigbo, all three in the NFL, all went to my high school. So, yeah,
small world.
Yeah, I heard Alabama football. I was like, oh yeah, Jared. I remember him.
But anyways, I'm not done with these spineless hacks who get on the radio or on more successful, more popular YouTube channels than this one and talk about how the Lions, they really reached on running back because running back positions aren't that valuable. And fucking Sam Monson going, well, he took running back. That's bad. And then he took linebacker. That's bad. I am sick of all these Pro Football Focus hacks. He's Irish. He has a history in rugby, Sam Monson, and he has like the statistics degree, which makes he thinks it's like fucking baseball, and it drives me absolutely insane. Jahmyr Gibbs is a generational talent, and Jack Campbell is like the Rain Man of college football last year. Did you see Jack Campbell's interview with the Lions? Did y'all see that part of the? So he's just sitting there. And he's just like rocking back and forth, just like getting ready to talk about football. And he turns the screen on and they cut it out and they have it all blurred out. But he's like shouting at the screen and he's pointing all which way. Yeah. And they get done with him and he's like, man, that is going to be tough to beat. That guy is super intelligent. And that's one of those things, that's the linebacker role, right? That's a big part of that position is getting the defense set up and knowing everything to do. And that's something that'll never show up on Pro Football Focus. That's not even necessarily something that'll show up in real stats that actually matter, unlike the made-up metrics and expected points per play, stupid stuff like that, made-up stuff like that. That's not even predictive of the future like real stats are. Anyways, I forgot how pissed off I was when, and it really brought me back, and it really triggered me emotionally in an amazing way. That I think the Lions just did an incredible job with this program.
I will give you this. I love whenever documentaries or something like that start with all the shit talking that the organization goes through. Because, like, obviously you're hyping it up to where it's like, no, we made the right decision. We're going to fucking show you we made the right decision.
And I was going to say that, too, because when you are controlling the narrative and you're putting this out yourself and you're giving, like, what your thoughts were, what your insight was, how you executed it, you're really doubling down on these athletes. If they are busts, dude, I'm not saying that they're gonna be. I think they drafted some really well-rounded athletes, but of course that's exactly how they depicted them. They didn't want to show Jahmyr Gibbs, and I know his stats will back this up too. They didn't want to show him too much of like a running back reliant where he can catch out of the backfield. You know, he's a good athlete. So they show him in that limelight of like, you're almost like Debo, you're almost like Alvin Kamara. Like, so they're showing him like, and I liked how they depicted all their athletes. I thought it was good.
Led Alabama in receptions last year.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I know that those stats are there. So why don't you
shut up about him being a running back?
I know.
Absolutely sick of it. Also, speaking of running backs, Barry Sanders and Megatron are there. So this is no longer...
Barry Sanders seemed like he'd done zero research on who they were, and Calvin Johnson...
I think he's a known kind of recluse hermit.
My favorite line was when he was asking Gibbs about his chain, and he's like, what does that stand for? He's like, oh, Jahmyr Gibbs, JG. And then Barry's like, oh, maybe I should get one. I was like, you should not get a chain that says BS. That is not a good look.
BS. I love... Yeah, he didn't even know that he transferred to Alabama. Gibbs did.
He was like 1 year at Alabama. I was like, where have you been? It's not even like it's not like he's playing for VMI or something, and you're just like, I don't know who you are.
Commercials, bro. That's all
really. Apparently, he keeps falling asleep during them too. If you see Robert Griffin's post.
That's just Barry Sanders for you. But Megatron back on board doing content for the Lions, which means we've broken the Megatron curse that everyone famously knows about, how the Lions organization, the old Fords, said he retired early and said, hey, you know that signing bonus we gave you, that guaranteed money? Write us a $3 million check or we'll sue you. Wow. Because
Yeah.
it's in your contract. When, like, Andrew Luck for the Colts retired, they just paid him. They're like, Dean, you can take your money, like, whatever. Like, you've earned it, whatever. It's cool that you're retiring. But, yeah, I think we are turning a new leaf with the Detroit Lions as an organization, and I think it is, and it's very evident if you watch this year's Inside the Den behind the scenes footage, this year versus last year. Sheila Hamp, it's not Sheila Ford Hamp anymore. The Fords are gone.
She has Ford in her middle name on the show.
She's Sheila Hamp. That's what they call her now. They do not call her Sheila Ford Hamp.
Doesn't change her name.
Yeah.
It's just like she just doesn't go by it.
We are no longer
When you're
owned
that
by
rich, you pick.
We are no longer owned by the Fords. We are owned by Sheila Hamp, and she at the helm is doing an excellent job. She is hilarious on the phones. She's getting very comfortable, like, talking to the athletes and stuff, and she's really growing up into the position, which is kind of weird to say for someone who's like 71 years old to, like, grow up, but she is really improving, and it's evident that she is leading the organization in a positive manner. I love when she gets on the phone because everyone, like, calls them and, like, oh, they're all super professional, and she will get on, like, you should have been in here when we drafted you. They were, like,
Fired up. Yeah.
jumping on tables. Brad Holmes slamming the table. He's like, oh, I said I wasn't going to do that this year. He's done it in the last 3 years for his first pick.
Yeah.
He's just, I love the Lions, and I love how excited they are. And then there's just John Dorsey just sitting in the background, just like mastermind of the whole situation, just sitting in the background. Pay no attention to the man with a giant brain who can scout college athletes like no other man in the world can.
So, as a Detroit fan, do you like the owner of the Lions more than you like the Little Caesars family?
The Little Caesars family.
Red Wings and the Tigers.
Yeah.
It's a very important discussion.
Yeah. So you did bring up baseball, so you do owe us burpees after. That is the
yep,
rule.
yep.
If you bring up baseball on the show, you owe us burpees after. But from what I understand, the Illiches might not be the greatest actual human beings in the world. I don't really exactly remember the exact story. Why? Are you teeing me up for something? Do you actually know?
No, it was something I noticed a lot in this as well, was her involvement was at a appropriate level for what I feel an owner's. Like, she was not a Jerry
She's
Jones.
not overbearing.
Yeah. She's not making the pick. She's like, you got it.
It goes Brad Holmes, but she is involved. She's asking. So Brad Holmes is on the phone trying to trade back or whatever in this video, and Sheila goes, so what's she goes to Dan Campbell, and she's like, oh, so, like, explain to me what's going on right now. I want to know what's going on right now. And she's like, and she on the show, she's like whispering, like, so we're gonna get Gibbs, right? Like, we're gonna get Gibbs. Like, yeah, like she is in on the Lions, and she really knows exactly what she's doing. And that's any more takeaways from the behind the scenes footage that got released, I think, on Thursday.
I just thought it was a good depiction. Like I said, you've got to be just doubling down. And I mean, as an organization, if that's where you think your future is, do it. And so for the production, great. Content, great. Overall, I love those behind the scenes. Like, those are always really awesome.
I'm already looking into the next segment, and just seeing that Chargers record is pissing me the fuck off.
Yeah, so USA Today came out with projections for every single football team in the NFL, and I guess Anthony Ramos sitting to my right with a cool mustache, known Chargers fan. The Chargers recently signed Justin Herbert to a $262 million 5-year deal, locking him in for the foreseeable future.
Well deserved.
Take it away, Mr. Anthony. How do you feel about it?
Look, Justin Herbert's one of those generational talents. He's arguably, not even arguably, he is a top 5 quarterback in the league. I think he'll stay there for a very long time. You got new weapons in Quentin Johnson. I mean, fucking A. He's a younger Mike Williams, and that's not to knock Mike Williams. He proved last year, hey, he might be getting older, but he can still go the fuck up and get that damn ball. It's like he literally has that thing where it's like, hey, fuck it. Like Mike Williams is down there somewhere and just hurl it 70 yards with a broken rib, and he's still going to catch it.
Yeah.
So
Quentin Johnston, my number one ranked wide receiver for this draft class.
I was so happy with that pick.
He is way, way better. A big body, which is unique in this draft class and unique in general. The wide receiver position is becoming a lot smaller recently.
Yeah.
Like the average size now is like 180 pounds. And he is just a big dude with a sweet spin move to the left. If he ever catches the ball, he will spin to the left and he will run for a touchdown.
Yeah, and he's going to burn you every single time.
He is unbelievable. I don't think he has quite a big a year fantasy wise this season as Jordan Addison, just because he's playing behind two wide receivers that are theoretically starting this season healthy. You know, that's never really played out throughout
Keenan
the whole.
Allen, you got to be a little careful sometimes. I've been learning
Jeepers
that.
creepers. I had him in my dynasty. I drafted him in my dynasty startup as like a rock solid veteran that I can depend upon for the next 3 years or so. And yeah, man, that was a rough first patch of the season where he had the hamstring, but he ended up finishing the season 13th overall in points per game played. So he is still a valuable asset. It's just, yeah, if those Chargers can stay healthy. And yeah, so we're looking at our chart right here. The AFC West, 10-7 Chiefs, 10-7 Broncos.
Such horseshit.
In third place, 7-10 Chargers, 3-14 for the Las Vegas Raiders.
That Raiders thing is actually pretty funny.
And that kind of makes sense. That's fair. Like, how has that team improved from
I
last
thought
year?
3 was too high.
Yeah.
Damn.
I mean, I don't know that 3 is too high, but it's definitely a very definitive question mark in Las Vegas how that team's going to perform.
Yeah, unless Tom Brady's coming out of retirement to play.
I was going to say, bro, you don't believe in Jimmy G?
I actually,
There's too many question
believe.
marks. Too many question marks.
He's starting the season injured, right?
Yeah.
Like, is he practicing
They were
right now?
questioning whether
is he
could-
on PUP?
Like they had an opportunity
to be.
window
He
to
would have
like
to be.
nullify his contract because of his medical.
That's
things that he was
right.
having.
But
There's
they
a
said it
whole-
wasn't a major concern, but I haven't heard if he started on the PUP list or not, but I also haven't seen any highlights out of camp. Are they in camp already? They got to be in camp. Everybody's
have
in
to be.
camp.
Yeah,
There's
they
no
have
way
to.
to
That's
know.
why. That's.
So
I mean,
maybe I missed something, or maybe he is on
yeah,
the PUP.
because if he is hurt, he would have to be on the PUP already. But
I think the
Anyways.
Raiders might be happy with people not remembering that that's a situation.
Yeah, maybe they're
I
just
think
like-
they're like, let's just get through camp and hopefully nobody remembers that this is a storyline.
no cell phone.
Whoever
Yeah.
has the Broncos winning that many games is so far up their ass.
Yeah, so the Broncos.
Like, I agree with the Chiefs, but I think the Chiefs are going to get a lot more wins than 10.
They were using Sean Payton's
I agree.
model for
The Chiefs are going to
Bronco
get a
wins.
lot more wins than 10.
So Sean Payton, new head coach over there for the Broncos. I think the biggest question mark right now, obviously, is just if Russell Wilson can get it back together. And a lot of people are saying it was a lot of Nathaniel Hackett's job or fault. I mean, he made some bonehead game management decisions, I felt, but it didn't seem like it was really on him as much as it was on Russell. It just the arm didn't look the same, decision making was terrible, and all of the stuff that he always was bad at was somehow even worse.
Dude,
Yeah.
if you're going to be a veteran at that level, you can't be blaming your fucking coach at that point.
No, exactly.
You can't. That's
No,
like
exactly.
Tom Brady. You can't. Tom Brady never blamed his coaches or anything. It's always on Tom Brady. And if you want to be one of the greats, why the fuck are people trying to blame the coach? Blame the quarterback. Russell Williams is at that caliber to where it's not the coach's fault.
Exactly.
If the coach is making a bad call, Russ should be able to be like, oh, I got to do an audible on this. Read the defense. Do your fucking job. Like, Sean Payton can't fix all that. You got to fix all that.
You're working me up because I'm a Vikings fan, dude. We got Kirk Cousins brought in. I didn't know how to feel about it. At first, I wasn't all for it. And then I was like, look at this bitch. Like, I was just like the whole time, right? And then last season we get new head coach, new GM. And so like he made my case for me, right? I told my buddy, like I could tell Mike Zimmer, old head coach of the Vikings, when he was doing something or involved with some shit he didn't like, you saw it on his fucking face. He didn't want Kirk in Minnesota, right? My buddy, one of my football resources, my buddy Chris, every time I talk with him, he's like, he's got every piece of information I'd ever need, and he's like, bro, if we're signing Kirk on that much money, it's not the coach's fault. He needs to be able to fucking perform. Yeah. I'm like, he kind of did, dude. Like, our defense is dog shit. It has been for 3 years. Offensive line's poop. And no, the same thing, dude. Like, Aaron Rodgers going to New York, he can't say, oh, it was Rob's fault. It wasn't mine. No, you have to get there. You've got to perform. If you are... They are who they thought they were, and we let them get away. If you are one of those people, it can't. You've got to take that blame. Yeah. You've got to. So Russell, that was a fumble the bag moment. That's what Jordan Love can't have happen this season, dude.
It's gonna happen.
So before we get to the NFC North, which is where we're heading next, no one's gonna say anything about the Chiefs being 10-7.
That's what I was just saying. Yeah, I was gonna say they're gonna get a lot more wins than 10.
I think so too.
Yeah, they're theoretically they're giving the Broncos a win against them, maybe too. I would like to know what they think. Week by week a little more, but I mean, that's the only way you get to 10. Both these teams being 10-7 is they assume the Broncos are going to beat them at least once.
Yeah,
I feel like you kind of have to infer that from this.
I just don't see it. I mean, I guess that defense. I guess we forget how absolutely putrid that offense was last year, and how legitimately good that defense was.
Yeah.
That carried the team. And I don't think they really lost very many guys on that defense.
And Sean Payton loves his defenses.
Sean Payton is there. I'm just concerned about Russell Wilson and his just like mental game at this point.
I think he's lost that locker room. Like, I always think of that picture of Melvin Gordon looking at him on the sidelines like, I don't even want to be near you anymore.
Yeah.
Bro, you're not tired of hearing "Let's Ride"?
He should have parlayed that into a Harley Davidson commercial. He really messed that up.
Shit, dude. I could do without any more writing from Mr. Russell Wilson.
Have you guys seen my tweet, my biggest tweet ever, where I roasted Russell Wilson with a pretty sweet video edit?
I can't wait for this.
It's pinned on my account. You've seen it.
I don't know if I have. I don't know.
You haven't even seen it. It's pinned on the top of my account. Maybe we'll pull it up later. But let's talk about the NFC North. Lions 11-6, baby. And guess what? That means we're gonna have a home playoff game in Detroit, and that means we are gonna win the first playoff game in my lifetime.
I like how we went from these predictions are bullshit to immediately that makes sense.
Spot on.
Do you just have the home advantage because people are drinking Michigan water? Or?
So Flint is actually really far away from Detroit.
It's downriver?
It is literally downriver. The Detroit water, the Metro Detroit area water, tap water, pretty fucking good, if I'm honest. Some of the best tap water. I would grade it out like 9 out of 10 in terms of like the Livonia tap water.
Like, you go to a fine dining restaurant in Detroit, and they're like, "Do you want Perrier?" And you're like, "No, that's that. I don't want
no, they don't even give you the sparkles.
Detroit tap.
You don't have sparkles. You
Give
don't
me
have
the
sparkling
Detroit
water.
tap. He said, "I don't want." By the way, I'm going to let you know. I hope Miles doesn't watch this for that roast coming up, because I don't want him to have the information of, oh, this guy thinks his hometown's just notorious for tap water. Like,
I would plan on telling them some things.
Damn. No. I honestly, I was born in Arlington, Texas. They had pretty good tap water there. Like, surprisingly for how rough the area is.
No chance Miles watches this far into the episode.
No way.
If you were to say Bears, Packers, Vikings,
dude,
who would you pick right now to be second place behind the Lions?
Vikings, agreed.
Viking.
I'm not gonna say second place, but I will for this episode. But there's no way the Vikings are worse than Green Bay or Chicago.
It's really fucking weird.
Okay, I don't know why everyone's so sold on Justin Fields. Like, he's the answer. He's not even had a Kyler Murray season.
Really
no, he hasn't even had a Kyler Murray season yet. In my eyes, I haven't seen him and been like,
"Who the fuck is he throwing to?"
Fantasy wise,
is a good.
He had an absolutely massive season, fantasy-wise, did.
And again, as a Vikings fan, that's where I don't get credit, where if I'm like, oh, but Kirk got good points, you're like, fucking okay. He's a stat guy.
6-point passing touchdown, Kirk was like number 4 in the NFL last year.
See, and I'm cool with that. That's great. But he's still not worse than Justin Fields or Jordan Love, dude. Or rookie. I mean, he's always going to be the baby Jordan Love until he goes out there and actually balls out.
Well, one thing is for sure, he is no Jared Goff.
You can use this clip later, like make it black and white if Jordan Love does well, but I have no fucking hope in Jordan Love, dude. None.
We've talked about it last week. I think he has the widest range of outcomes for any player in the NFL this upcoming season. I think he is going to succeed because he has to, and if he doesn't, everyone's getting fired.
Well, I think you guys are missing out on what could possibly be the most entertaining season of Packer football. Would be if Jordan Love gets injured and then Taysom Hill has to be quarterback for the entire year.
Taysom Hill, he's still on the Saints.
No, he's at Green Bay now.
He's at Green Bay.
I did not get that breaking news.
There's a giant meme around the internet on how him in a Green Bay Packers jersey looks unathletic.
No fucking way.
Dude, I literally missed
I may be so
Is he
wrong.
really?
I really hope I'm not wrong.
Okay.
Just look up Taysom Hill.
I like how you go to Twitter for all your
Yeah, he
info.
didn't even, no Google.
Oh, look,
maybe
at
he's
Saints
at the
training
quarter-
camp 23 hours
okay,
ago.
For some
so it
reason, that
was a
Green Bay
meme.
jersey thing went viral recently. That made me think he was moved. Now I'm confused.
You got a darn Schefter.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
By the way,
Yeah, right. Look up the Taysom Hill and the Green Bay Packers.
no, I don't need to do that. I will say,
That's getting edited out.
I am excited about. The reason that I was so flabbergasted about that is because I've been drafting a lot of Taysom Hill in best ball drafts.
Yeah.
I absolutely love him in that format, and I also love Kendre Miller, who did come off the non-football injury list and practiced. I think he's going to take over that Saints backfield, especially if Alvin Kamara gets a loftier suspension than a lot of people are thinking. Let's go to the AFC North Bengals. So this is such a classic Cleveland Browns season, right? 10-7, and you have no chance of making the playoffs.
It's just a tough division,
of
dude.
the barrel.
I think they'll do better than the Steelers.
I think the Steelers are dog shit, but they're always dog shit, and they just have probably the best head coach, low-key the best head coach in the NFL with what he gets out of those players, with what he got out of Big Ben, with the fact that he was able to win games with Kenny Pickett last year is
true.
absolutely astounding.
Talking about playing quarterback looking unathletic is wearing gloves. That's from a couple years of Teddy Bridgewater.
I was going to say, I think Teddy...
Taysom Hill does.
He wears gloves,
I also thought 10 seconds ago he played for fucking the Packers.
Yeah.
Great.
We could
He
speak
saw
that
a
into
meme,
existence.
The Ravens, I'm not gonna poo-poo the Ravens. 11-6. Bengals. We did have a fun moment in our group chat earlier this week when I saw him go down.
I
Joe
wouldn't
Burrow.
call that fun, dude. That's just kind of like, I hope he does better, but that kind of sucks.
It was a butthole clenching. It was a butthole clenching moment, and I did actually feel bad. But fantasy wise, I felt great about it because I don't have any assets in the Bengals, and I went ahead and got Trevor Siemian. So that tweet went out at like 2:45. Our waivers process at 3:05 in my dynasty league.
Wow.
So I was like, first of all, who the fuck is the backup for the Bengals?
Yeah, I was gonna. That was my first question.
I'm like, all right, I guess I'm taking Trevor Siemian because it's a super flex league.
Also, this, I think we said this before we went live, but this was made before the Joe Burrow injury. So
I do think Joe Burrow will be fine. So getting into the medical side of things, I broke it to. So I broke Joe Burrow 100% definitely tore his Achilles, and then he's like, "Are you guys sure?" And I was like, "No," but it sure looked like it. And then there was a picture of him, and his foot just goes like that, and you pretty much can't do that unless you have an Achilles. There are peroneal muscles that wrap around the back of your ankle that you can sort of dorsiflex with like that, but that was a good indication that he didn't have a absolutely catastrophic injury. And I think he'll be fine to start the season.
which is good.
I was watching the AFC Championship game last night, as you do when your girlfriend leaves for the week, and you're.
You had the Super Bowl on whenever we came here yesterday.
I did. Anthony, so it is 3:00 Central Time. Anthony was here 11 hours ago, by the way. Wow.
Yeah, I was here until 4 or almost 5, and I was like, dude, I gotta go home.
It was a late night last night, so I'm pretty pumped that everyone's still alive in here. But I was watching the AFC Championship game, and they reminded me the Bengals started off 0-2, and Joe Burrow had a rough start to the season because he had appendicitis. So maybe this is just Joe Burrow's makeout, where he just has to put adversity onto his own shoulders just to know Ohio guy, just like I need to make it harder on myself, so I'm going to tear my calf in half.
I wish that was my quarterback's problem. Yeah.
He does seem to like bringing bad things to Orem because he continues to stand behind Skyline Chili being bad. So he's really trying to mess up his fan base.
Is that why Zeke just went and got fat? Is that just an Ohio thing? You kind of like just want to. Like,
I don't think Zeke is actually fat. He's been taking.
He's a lot more in shape than I am.
He's like a double wide truck, homie. Like you got to look at him like that.
Zeke took a meeting with the Patriots, I believe.
Would be fucking rad.
Which would be interesting because Ramondre Stevenson is a big fantasy asset, and probably I would be a little bit concerned about, especially Bill Belichick loves his veterans, loves using his veterans, especially if he signs them because he's the damn GM there too.
Yep.
I think whether Zeke looks good or not, he's going to get a lot of touches there and take a lot of touches away from Ramondre.
Dude, I told you where I want him. I want him in Tampa Bay with Baker Mayfield. That would be the funniest fucking QB running back combo.
That really is hilarious, and it kind of
be awesome.
I want to see them in their creamsicle uniforms together, like those bright ass oranges.
Awesome.
They really could use him on the roster too.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense roster wise.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, dude, send him to Tampa.
Put Zeke in the commercials with him too.
Dude, I think you said their touchdown celebrations would be top notch.
Oh my god, dude, super offensive. They'd have to put like disclaimers on every NFL game now. It's like, hey guys, strap in. This guy won't stop doing this. The other guy's just pelvic thrusting at the crowd the whole time, like trying to turn him on.
Trying to find a house in Cleveland, and he keeps bringing a giant cereal bowl with him, and he keeps trying to fit it in the cabinets. And they just keep not fitting, and he finally finds the right spot, and then they're like, "This is where you need home insurance when you find the right place for you." And
Yeah,
it's
like
I can fit all my cereal bowls. It's perfect.
Moving on to maybe we'll do a couple more divisions here. The AFC South, the Jags at the top of the division. Ooh. Anything really jump out to y'all there? Titans being 9-8. Vrabel, I think, another really underrated head coach.
Oh yeah,
always in the mix. Really, we forget that they beat the Chiefs. In the playoffs 2 years ago. And really were on an absolute tear last year, looking great, and their season just got absolutely smushed by injury after injury. And there's really there's really no reason for them to be good other than Vrabel and just kind of like that Steelers sort of vibe where they're just going to find some ways to win.
That Tannehill and D-Hop combo, bro. That's going to be funny.
They won't
as long as Derrick Henry isn't dead, they'll be a lot better than 9-8.
No shit.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. If I had to guess one team to outperform in the AFC South based off these projections, I would definitely say the Titans. Although I do love the Jags. People do also forget that the Jags won a playoff game last year and took the Chiefs down.
Don't fucking remind me about that.
Took the Chiefs down to kind of like, a pretty darn close game. So I really love the Jags. Camp hype. I love camp hype.
Good time to fade some people.
It very rarely changes my mind, but I've had literally just one camp video that has changed my mind on a player, and that's Calvin Ridley over there in Jacksonville. He looks so incredible. He looks fast, and that's I'm not, as far as assessing players, I'm not like a great stat guy. Like, that's not really where I can excel. I excel seeing a player move, and when I saw him move, that changed my mind on Calvin Ridley. I might be all the way back. I might be all the way dead, like Calvin Ridley dead to me, to like, wow. Calvin Ridley might absolutely go on an absolute tear this year.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility.
And he also might just tear his hamstring because he hasn't played football in 2 years. But
there's history for that. So.
He's one of the guys, because I remember I think you mentioned this last week where you talked about how you were a little worried about guys who take a year off. It's the guys who take a year off who are lazy and undisciplined that you
I don't even think that matters.
Calvin's going to come in and do a lot.
To me,
I assumed Calvin was lazy and undisciplined.
He made a mistake with gambling that we all have very readily accessible to him. I also know Calvin, so I'm going to definitely be like Team Calvin all the way.
There we go.
But he makes a mistake, and frankly, we're all being pushed to gamble. I get it. At least he didn't do it on his own team. But I know for sure Calvin South Florida wide receiver type of guy. He's going to be out there like noon to 4 o'clock just running routes.
Working
fun.
hard, huh?
Like he just
Hard
likes
worker.
running routes. Yeah. If you ever watched him and Lane Kiffin for once even, I mean, that might have been the greatest like offensive coordinator.
I think
wide
he's going to have a
receiver
breakout
combo.
year.
And hopefully got help for his mental health, which made him leave the team early the year prior as well.
Yeah.
I want to take a look at the NFC South because it is the worst division in football.
Moving to the NFC South, Saints at the top of the division at 9-8. Falcons
That's horseshit.
at 9-8. Well, Anthony, who the hell is going to win this division? Someone's got to win it.
Okay, you want my hottest take I'm going to have today?
Oh, let me get the
Where's
button.
the button? Get the button.
Oh my God.
There's a
There's a hot take button.
Let me see that.
Go for it. Go for it. You got to press it after you say it.
Okay.
And put it in the microphone too.
Yes.
Wait, there it is.